Hey everyone, new Stride Decksets are coming out for Nightrose and Harri, so as usual it's time to make some preliminary builds on the decks and kind of just go into like how do we build these, right? Because usually these are the most hypest times because Stride Decksets are really good. That's just how it is, right? It's just how it is. So we want to find some nice builds to start off with. So starting off with Nightrose and Harri, I think one of the main things that people have been realizing with both of these decks is that in terms of Counterblast, they do use a bit because not only is the grade 3 Nightrose and Harri have great like on-stride effects that you generally want to use most of the time, they don't really have good counter-charging options, and that's the sad thing, right? That's the hard thing to do. So that's one thing that a lot of people have been trying to stick in. All these decks, by the way, they're in the deck codes are in the description below, right? It's just two of them, so it should be pretty good. Make sure to use JP deck code. So back to the deck. The main thing that people have found out about Nightrose or have been posting about is the Enlargegive and the Philander, right? So why are they good? Well, Philander is basically an 18k beater with literally no conditions, like no GB restrictions or anything like that, except for needing a drop zone of 10 or higher, which can be like a bit hard to get in the early game, but it's something that you're going to eventually hit just naturally by playing the game, right? And the other effect that he has is that when you just play it down from hand, you can look at the top 5 and mill a card. So you're compressing your deck, which is great. You're filling out your drop zone, which is great. And, they're just both effects that are really, really good. If you have this early, you can kind of just throw it down and boost and beat with it. And then, later on, if it's still alive, it's just going to add a lot of value. It also makes your turns where you want to hit huge numbers, like, available. Because normally you'll be calling out your Bone, which is just to keep on drawing cards. But on turns where you want to win, 18k is better than 8k. That's just how it is, right? You can buff your front row with the Stride Crests. But with Philander, you can also get a big chunky boy in the back row and just bash stuff. The other thing is just Enlargegive. Why is this good? Well, if you call it out and then you can Soul Blast 1 and then just grab a grade 2 or higher from your drop zone. So the combo is that you call this out with your Nightrose Stride and then this grabs the Nightrose, right? Your grade 3 Nightrose. So next turn, you can also just stride into Nightrose with 0 problems, right? 0 problems. You don't even have to call Nightrose. You just basically it just grabs the grade 3, which is your Nightrose. So you're always setting up for your Nightrose turns, and it's just the best feeling ever. And it's the dragon, so it's one of those like grade 4 Stride Dragon things. So you always get the draw, right? So it's like better than the it's better than the Nightstorm, right? Just more draws, better life. Why do we still run Nightstorm? Well, on turns where you want to kind of push more power, like just having this hits 23 instead of 13, which is good. And it just combos kind of decently with a push turn for Nightrose. That's just how it is, right? So 23 is better than 13. You can't call like 2 of the Ruin, is it no Marauding Shades, right? You can't call 2 of this guy. So you have to at least have like this here for like the extra power push, right? Another reason why we run this card is that this is just your beater, right? We run 4x of this. Your beater hits 20k, but it also adds a lot of shield. So the second effect is when it's put on the Guardian Circle. If you have the crest, you get 5k shield, but if you have 10 in the drop zone, you get plus 10k shield. So it's a 15k shield. So this is a nice like chunky block. So this is why you just basically run 4x of it. I'm just gonna point out this deck. There's like only 6 flex slots, right? Literally 6 flex slots. This is my reasoning for a lot of these. Is yeah, you're gonna need to have some Nightroses to stride with, and then you can't just have like what I think 1 is like too low, so you want 2, and then you can consistently kind of grab this out, and then you have your Tommies that can also grab this out and serve as stride fodder, like because you're only having like 4, 6 stride fodder is not great. 8 is like the nice amount, and this can kind of salvage your Nightroses, so this is just extra plus. Like I said, you need 4x of the Shades, 4x of the Bone, because this is like your main dude, right? He basically lets you get some advantage, and the advantage is good. You really have like no other way of getting it, apart from the Bone and the Lazy, so I haven't really said much about the Lazy, but this guy's cool. When you call it down and it's hollowed, right, you can counterblast 1 and then just search well, get a card from your drop zone and call it to the rearguard circle, which is great. Like, it's just it's a nice plus. But like I said, if you hollow stuff, then they don't become a plus. But if you call the bone all the time, you'll always get to draw, which is nice. And then the GB1 effect is that when this card is retired from the rearguard circle, when it's in the hollowed state, if your Vanguard is Nightrose grade 3 or higher, you can countercharge if you haven't countercharged this turn. So you're going to get 1 refund back, but still, like I said, you know, you're at least using 2 CB a turn, which is a lot. And if you use the lazy skill, it's like 3 CB. So it's a lot of CB, but because he refunds back, it's just 2 CB, right? So this is another one of your plus cards. Like, it gets bone, right? Anything that gets bone is really good. So you just keep on drawing because he retires the draw. But yeah, anything that gets bone is good. And then you have your PGs. And that's like a lot of your slots already filled, right? If you're running Philanders as well, you know, milling and power, a lot of your slots filled. You really only have 6 slots, which we kind of fill. I filled like with some one-offs. So this is a prize trident. You've probably seen other stuff. On the 5th, if you basically, if your other card has attacked in this like the 5th battle, you can put this card into your soul and you countercharge 1. So this is, I don't see the game lasting that long where you need multiple countercharges. So this is one of your options, and I think it's just there and it's fine. And then you also have the Regulus piece, which can serve as a countercharge. Obviously, draw 2 is like way better, but if you win the game through a countercharge, that's better than drawing 2, right? Or you're able to like make way more pushes with, you know, 1 countercharge. Yeah, then the countercharge is way better than the draw 2. And the last 4 slots we kind of just filled with Alvina because this guy is insane. It's not really a guy, but this card is insane, right? Energy Blast 3. This is your main energy outlet in the game. Of course, you have to call it from hand, which is like the not good part, but it does let you get bones, which is important. So this can help you grade 2 game or whatever if you want to, you know, playing other Stride decks and you want to get first Stride. This will help you do that because it just makes bodies and you can bash with them. And then if you have 4 more units during your turn, it gets 2k. So it's like a 10k beater and can hit numbers pretty well, right? Again, this is not really much of a condition. In the early game, you're going to put this behind a 10. It hits 20. That will hit other grade 2 or lowers for like good numbers, right? Just it's a 10k. 10k is just a great boost number. It's not even a boost. You know, I put it in the front as well, right? It's just 10k is just a great number that works in a variety of situations. And it can get orders back, but we don't run the orders unless you want to play an order build, which you can. So yeah, that's pretty much the deck. We run Red OT just for like the extra push, but as you can see, a lot of these cards in the deck are like really good quality cards. So in terms of the flex slots, we really only have 6, and that's kind of where you can determine how you want your like deck to go, right? If you want to run mushrooms and things like that, you want to run more orders, then you're replacing these slots. If you really want more counter charge, then sure, you know, there's different ways to do it. Yeah, that's pretty much it, and we're gonna go to Harri now, which is also pretty interesting. So here, I guess the question for Harri is, I've basically seen like 2 builds that are popping up. One is where you try and get up to 10 soul, and then you have access to the Engraver, which is the Barrow Magnus grade 2 that can counter charge. So that's pretty good, because one thing with this deck, again, lots of counterblast, lots of counterblasting, and the counterblast is pretty important, right? The main difference between Harri and Nightrose, if we go back, is that your Nightrose first grade 3 turn is just this guy. It's the Ghosty, but he doesn't make multi-attack. All the first strides for the new Stride Decksets don't make multi-attack. So with Nightrose, you're going to be playing like a 3-attack first turn, and then just going to Nightrose every single turn with the enlarge gives like making sure that happens. But with Harri is different. Like, sure, this guy, the Lunatic Dragon, double Fedora Man, doesn't give an extra attack, but you have an extra attack built in with the Manticore. So if you haven't called anything during the battle phase this turn from your soul, you can counterblast 1 and put this card into your soul, and then grab a card from your soul with a different name and call it out, basically. And then at the end of the turn, that card goes into soul. So this guy naturally makes your 4th attack, and this is basically the card that you always want to have out every single turn to be able to just make that extra attack. So it kind of adds a different kind of look to the deck in a way, because you can always make 4 attacks, right? From your first stride, you can always make 4 attacks. You kind of hit like lower numbers than Nightrose though, but yeah, this will make 4 attacks and it's great. So you run 4x of it. The other difference between this and Nightrose is that you don't have much countercharging options. Like I said before, a lot of people try to get Big Soul to get Engraver, but you have other ways to do it. One is just the Regulus piece. 2, Dark State's Carbuncle is pretty good. You can just, when you play into the Regard Circle, you can get a countercharge 1. You can do some weird shenanigans. Like here, we're running 2. You always kind of want to see it once in the game at least, I think. So you run 2, and you just, if you get 1, it's great. If you get the second one, you just kind of get like discarded, or you can do something weird like ride over the Harri and then just like play this to get the counter charge if you're desperate. There's also this weird Dark Golem guy, which is that when you put it into your soul from your Regard, then you can, if your damage rate is 4 or less face down cards, you can bind this and then counter charge 1. So this could be pretty nice, just like, you know, one of those situations where you really need the counterblast, and yeah, the Golem can help you get that, right? Harri's effect itself, great. Like, you kind of want to use it every single time because it's just straight up +1. Just when you stride, you can counterblast 1, soul charge 1, and call a card out from your soul, and then that card gets +5k, and then at the end of the turn, you put the card into soul, right? So it's just a straight +1. It's pretty good. You can just get the Manticore, right? Nice. And then there it is. I mentioned before that the builds have been separated into 2 types of Harri build. One of them was just the Engraver build, which would hit 10 souls. The other one is the Gungaram build, which doesn't really care about your soul much, which is true, right? When you think about this deck, when you think about Harri, like, there's only specific cards you really need in your soul to make your combos work. The rest of your soul can be ignored, right? That stuff is whatever. So you can just kind of spam Gungarams and then just keep on drawing cards, which like solves 2 issues. One, you can throw the Gungarams down early and then use them, like make columns to bash your opponent so the game doesn't last as long. And 2, when you get more draws, it means you can get more pieces, which means you can get like more Harris or more ways to get Harri back to make your Harri turns happen, right? Because you don't have a really confirmed way of grabbing Harris, right? So that's just the way to look at it. Gungarams make things work, which is nice, and you can just like have better early games, etc., etc. Overall, your soul doesn't really matter. Actually, it might be better to just keep on soul blasting, because then you have things like Falcratia, which you can put like grade 3s in, for example. It kind of works pretty similar to your Dark Side Princess, except that I guess you can hit a bit higher on your first stride, which is fine. So yeah, these 2 kind of work well. They're just nice beaters. I can probably swap the ratios. It's really up to you. I'm still running 4 bunnies simply because, you know, it's a stride fodder and it's just a way to get back a Harri, right? You just keep on drawing one of these cards and get back a Harri, and you can confirm good times. Yeah. And then your cutie paratrooper, this one is pretty important. You need 4 of. Just when it's called outside of the battle phase, you can put another card with a different name from this card into your soul, and then you call out another card with a different name from that card that you put into your soul, and then in turn you put that card into your soul, right? So this kind of makes combos, and you can put things like, you know, call Gungaram early, then just call out a paratrooper, and then put the Gungaram in, and then call out the Manticore, and then you've got the setup, right? And the only other thing is you need a Falcratia or your Princess for your other column, and then you've got a nice column that's doing stuff, and you can make numbers. So like one of the good things about the Gungaram build is that you can aggress early, but it also makes, I guess, you can kind of go into these lunatic turns a bit more, right? Sure, you're like sacrificing 1 attack by not going into Harri, but if you think about it, your Harri turn makes like 6 attacks, 5-6 attacks, does require a lot of CB, and you can only do one on the second stride, which will be something like an extra 10k to the front row. But if your second stride is also a lunatic, this build feels, I guess, less bad, because you're still getting a lot of cards into your hand, so you can probably survive until a 3rd turn, because your crest also draws you 1, right? And then because you go into a second lunatic, your front row is plus 15k, which is okay, which is not bad, because then your Harri turn afterwards is absolutely massive. So yeah, this build, I guess, has that advantage when your hand size is just better. than the 10 soul kind of builds, which spend a lot of the deck space trying to get into that 10 soul. And then if they don't, then I guess you just don't countercharge. But yeah, they still run Carbuncle, so it's not that bad. But yeah, this is kind of the build. I think this one's like easier, I guess, than maybe the other Harri builds, because I guess to build, right? Because all you do is you technically there's some cards you don't need. Maybe you don't need this countercharge. You just run like another Princess. The only things that you need are the Gungarams. Once you get that Gungaram, it's good. And yeah. Like with the Regulus piece as well, there's other things you can run. You can run Forbidal, is really good in this deck, as it calls out Manticores, which is nice, right? Manticores is good. And then in terms of the OT choice, I picked the Dark OT, and I think Dark OT is correct, because one of the biggest issues with this deck is that it doesn't really have, you know, countercharging. This kind of fulfills that in that it heals you one, calls something out, so you've countercharged. It makes another attack, which is great because you're a stride deck, so that can benefit from strides. And then because you healed one, it does mean that it's easier to live until the next turn, which again, your stride scaling is insane, and you can kind of just win from that, right? So that's like my thoughts on the deck. Let me know what you guys think. This is, at least with Harri, I feel like nothing else is like really figured out that much. Unlike Nightrose, where everyone's kind of gone all in trying to figure out the best build, and we've kind of settled at six flex slots. With Harri, like, yeah, the builds are just constantly evolving. There's other countercharge stuff, like, you know, there's on-hit countercharge if you're really dedicated to the countercharge. Yeah, there's other ways to countercharge, but those, I think that these are like just, you've got Engraver, this one, and the on-hit countercharger, which is like less good. But then if you don't care about countercharges, there's also a lot of other ways to build it, right? So that's just it. So I think I've been rambling along for a long time now. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. Which builds do you like? You know, do you like countercharging? And hopefully we'll see more results. I'll definitely see more results of this, and just see how these two decks evolve, right? So that's it. See you all later. Bye.